Thank you all for inviting Nikolai and myself to speak to you today about our small project up in the north. Do I point it as? Okay. Okay, so a little bit of orientation. I'm Floyd, the VP Operations for TMAC. Our project is located in the Kitikmeot region of Nunavut. It's about 700 kilometers north of Yellowknife in the Northwest Territories. Closest community is Cambridge Bay, about 125 kilometers away. It's accessible only by sea or air. No roads, no winter road available. Our sea lift season is very brief in the summer period. All of our supplies and materials come in either through a sea lift or flying in. Currently, we use diesel generation exclusively for power on site as the currently most efficient means of powering our development project. The Hope Bay project is, it's been around for a while. We took over in 2013. We went IPO this year, or last year in July, to fund the project. It's a 20-year mine life, 15 million tons, 3.5 million ounce gold deposit. We're building this in sequences. The first mine is the Doris mine, and the picture up there is the Doris site. The large outcrop is Doris Mountain. You'll see that in some of Nikolai's slides later. We started mining operations in Q4 of 2015. We brought in our processing plant on our sea lift this year. It's being assembled, just started commissioning this week. And we'll be targeting production as we've talked about in our disclosures, first quarter of 2017. The project's a bit unique. We call it a bootstrap, where Doris is the first mine. We're focusing on Doris, getting it up as a high-grade, high cash flow project that will then fund the balance of the belt. The energy profile at our mine site is captured here. We have about 60 million kilowatt hours consumption at our 2,000 ton a day target. 13% of that is in the camp, which is primarily heat. 20% is for mining operations, primarily for moving air around the mine and drilling. And the balance is in processing. 2/3 of the energy is consumed in processing, and that's for size reduction, for milling the ore down for processing. Also, a significant contribution is the heat load required to operate in Nunavut and a wet plant. The plant's housed inside a building, but we still require heat. The heat capture from the exhaust of our power plants is about 10 million kilowatt hours equivalent. There's about 30 million kilowatt hours capacity, which we hope to utilize elsewhere in the project, but currently the target is to capture 10 million of waste heat off the power plant to heat the process plant. So the importance of that in green considerations is that not all the energy is just in electrons. The energy is also in heat, and in our part of the world, heat is a very large consumer. So we do offset already, and having a diesel base to build off of for renewables is very important to us. So I guess the basics, we can store 28 million liters of fuel. We have a 8-unit power plant, about 11.5 megawatts. We've got 6 installed currently and operating. We have 2 more installed but not commissioned, generators that is. So that's, in a nutshell, that's the platform for Tuggeluk's renewable energy project.
Thank you, Floyd. So I'll start by presenting who's Tuggeluk. So Tuggeluk is a specialist IPP, and we're focused on remote, complex, faraway places that all have one thing in common, and it's they're all diesel-based. In that sense, our main market is you guys. It's the mining industry. The core members of Tuglik are from the mining sector as well. So we understand, or at least we think we do, understand what the client needs and how they think and what's important for them. And it's very different than dealing with utilities or with grid-connected projects. That's why we've come up with contract strategies and agreements that are very flexible and tailored specifically for this sector. And at the end of the day, our mission is simple. It's to diversify away from diesel as much as we can, the industrial operations, by leveraging the local sources of energy that's available, whether it's wind, whether it's solar, we're technology agnostic. The company was founded in 2011 and was specifically created to tackle these challenges. So what do we do? Well, we're a one-stop shop in energy diversification, from conventional project development activities to complete financing of the project. We're also very comfortable, and actually we prefer to take charge of the construction as well. We have quite a bit of experience on project execution in a logistically challenged area, I would say. And we'll do the operation and the maintenance of the asset, while working with the site operators. That's critical, where if you operate in silo, the operators on site from the mining project will not like what you're doing, so you have to work with them to establish the best operating philosophies. And at the end of the day, we want to be as efficient as possible. That's why we have partnerships out there, and we leverage those partnerships as much as we can. We work a lot with Hatch for some of the engineering, and where it makes sense, we want everyone to benefit from those partnerships. And as Adrian mentioned, our flagship operation is the Raglan project, where we have a 3-megawatt wind turbine installed since August 2014. And I'll present the numbers at the end of the presentation, today's number. So, as Floyd mentioned, the electrical power plant there is installed capacity is roughly 11 or 12 megawatt, but the average load is 7 megawatt electrical load, with 15 to 20 million liters of diesel to be consumed annually. And to bring the fuel up there is a complex and added cost supply chain to deliver the fuel up the site. So to me, those are all the ingredients that are required to make a good business case for wind, specifically if you have a decent wind resource on site. But before you bring a renewable energy project to a mining project in development, you want to make sure that you're not a distraction from what's the core target of the mining company, which is delivering their mining project and ramping up production by 2017. You also want to be cost competitive with diesel. And in this case, no Capex from TMAC. They are focused on delivering the mining project, and I'm sure their Capex is spent wisely on this item. They don't need additional expenditures for a renewable energy project. So we want to take that off their shoulder as well. So I don't know, we cannot see the color very clearly, maybe on the small screens, but this is the map of Canada, and we've mapped the wind resource. I don't know if there's a pointer here. Yeah. So the best wind resource really is around the Hudson Bay. We have a bit at Raglan, north there, but it's still fairly good throughout the territory. If you look at the central states, we know it's known for its very good wind resource. So the whole territory has an adequate wind resource. If you zoom in, that's mostly the Kitikmeot region, where the Kivalliq region is there, and Kikitani region is here, and that consists of Nunavut. The Hope Bay project is there. And we still cannot see too much the wind resource. If you zoom in one more time, that's where the TMAC mining operation is located, mining project is located. The big mountain that we saw on Floyd's slide originally is the outcrop here. We see that it's slightly darker, so you have the measured wind, the scale up here. So we're in the 8 meter per second average. This is a 200 meter resolution map. There's another very important outcrop here with highest wind speed, but the Capex would make no sense to connect it there. And we also see that there's a ridge here that makes sense. So we focus on this area to find the best location. If you look at the map here, that's a more detailed map, or we more clearly see the wind potential. So the Doris Cliff, and here's the other ridge. So that's the location of the Met mast that we just installed in August this year. So we have roughly 3 months of measured wind data. And as you can see, this windy place is also called Windy Ridge, I learned last week from Floyd. So at least we got the location of the met mass right on Windy Ridge. At this stage, it's only a forecast of what the potential project would look like. What we're talking about is 7.8 or 8 meter per second wind speed. I'm just gonna go there. What's interesting is the air density. We have 1.3 kilogram per cubic meter, which it's a direct relation to the power out, the energy yield every year. So typically in the south, you have 1.2, so you have an extra bonus of 10% just due to air density. Weibull K of 2.4, so that means we have quite a wide range of wind speeds. It's not only focused in the middle of the curve. So the potential project would be looking at 1 to 2 wind turbines from 2.3 to 6 megawatt with, of course, energy storage, optimal size to be confirmed. At Raglan, we're testing 3 technologies, flywheel, batteries, lithium-ion batteries, and a hydrogen loop. For TMAC, we're looking at all options available that will go into the pre-feas study. Potential annual displacement between 1.5 to 4 million liters a year. And PPA price target, of course, it has to be competitive or below diesel cost of diesel generation cost. Nope. And of course, if I can go back, the wind rows, the wind direction, dominant wind direction are from the west, so you want to make sure your wind turbines are perpendicular to minimize wake loss effect. So we'd be looking at something similar in that direction. Some of the lesson learned from our first project at Raglan that we can make sure TMAC benefits from is the tools we developed to make sure the operators are comfortable integrating this intermittent source of energy on their grid. Things like automated daily email to the power plant operator so they can plan their shifts accordingly. They can make sure which spinning reserve should be on or off. So it's a 1 week look ahead forecast. And it tells you approximately how many megawatt hour we're planning to produce out of the wind. This is a curve that has been fine-tuned to specifically to Raglan condition and to the turbine model we have at this site. We have remote monitoring 24/7. That is a first line of response if there's a failure to the wind turbine. This monitoring center can also control the blade de-icing system. So when it's in critical condition, it can start manually instead of having the turbine detects automatically when there's wind. We could curtail wind if the power drop is anticipated. So all these tools are made for easier integration. I think maybe we underestimate the microgrid, the integration of renewable energy on the microgrid. It's not like plugging into a grid. You need to work with the power plant operators, make sure he's comfortable because he can switch off the feeder from your renewable asset, and that's not good for anyone. So successful recipe, it's pretty simple. If I can sum it up, it's a project that has to make sense for both parties. If the mine is trying to squeeze the lemon too hard or ask conditions that are not bankable, it's not going to happen. We need conditions and terms that will make that we can finance the project with. On the other hand, we have to propose something that's cost competitive. We have to make sure, again, it's not a distraction from their core business, whether it's during project execution or during regular mining operation. If you have to shut down the conveyor of the mill, some places you need to go with the shovel to remove the rocks because it's too heavy to start. So it's a hassle if the grid stability is not maintained. You want to make sure you're not disturbing the regular operations because at the end of the day, it's there to save money, have environmental benefits, but it's not there to make the life more complicated of the mining operator. Next steps for TMAC and Tuglik. We're going to complete the wind measurement campaign. We're going for 12 months before we have a decent idea of what we're looking at in terms of wind speed, and then we can make a commercial proposal based out of this 12 months of measured wind speed. We're going to begin the environmental permit process in the middle because you don't need detail engineering, and that tends to be a long-term process. So you just want to make sure you inform, at least put a project notice, even if it's not going forward, to make sure that it does not delay your schedule. We move into feasibility study, place PO for long lead items. At this stage, you need to have complete financing and move into EPC phase. The target is to deliver the first green electron by end of 2018. This is all based on the assumption that we have the wind speed that we expect to, the business case is there, and TMAC's approval is going forward with this project. A quick note on Raglan. So the numbers today, we've displaced almost 5 million liters of diesel, 4.8. 13,000 tons of GHG have been avoided. Really good availability of the wind turbine. Since commissioning, we're looking at 97.74% availability. Quick note, last 2 weeks have been the worst in terms of icing for the blade, and we went through. Now it's up and running. So I think we've faced pretty much all the harshest conditions in those 2 years. We're okay to face the next 18 years with this turbine. The highest monthly capacity factor that we reached was 51%. And we won the Developer and Operator Award of the Year last year from Quebec Wind Industry. And Raglan Mine was awarded with CIM's 2016 Towards Sustainable Mining Award. So, in conclusion.
Yeah, in conclusion, it's a pretty simple business model for us. If it can be competitive with diesel, we're looking at the long-term benefits of it, and that would be to mitigate the cost of future expansions. Our target in our PFS that we went to market with is to open our second mine in 2019, and this would help mitigate the need for additional generation, additional storage. So although our goal is no capital up front, it's also seen as a means to reduce capital needs in the future and have a social benefit in the bargain.
Right. And for us, it's really to reach our mission, which is displacing a greater amount of diesel through this new renewable energy project. And we also want to show and lead the way for the 26 Inuit communities on the territory. They are really eager and keen to look at renewable sources. Of course, we're dealing with a utility that is funded through the government of Nunavut, through the federal government. So we need to show them, and we want to show them and pave the way for them to also deploy renewable energy in their communities. So that's it. Thank you.